Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, brothers in arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a monster game that I had in the Alsace, the Tier IX French battleship. I'm divisioned up with my friends from APOC Megadude and 901, and they're playing in the Baltimore and Fletcher respectively, the Tier IX American, at least right now, heavy cruiser and destroyer, and we're playing some domination here on the map Loop. So, for the Alsace, for my captain skills, I have Preventative Maintenance, Adrenaline Rush, Superintendent, Concealment Expert, Advanced Firing Training, and Basics of Survivability. And for my equipment, I have Main Armaments Mod 1, Damage Con 1 and 2, Aiming Systems Modification, Concealment, and Main Battery Modification 3. So the Alsace here in World of Warships, what do you need to know about this Tier 9 French BB? Well, I gotta say, so far, very, very good. I've really enjoyed playing this thing. And there are two very good builds that you can go with this ship, and both of them have their own pluses and downsides to them. The one that I go with is just a full gunboat build. Obviously, you know, French battleships, at least at the high tier, have pretty decent AA, and of course they also have very far-shooting secondary batteries as well that can reach past 11 kilometers. So I do have AFT to benefit both the secondaries and the AA armament, but I prefer to go with just main battery gun builds. And the reason why is pretty straightforward and pretty simple. You're a BB, you have big gun, you shoot big gun a lot, you do damage, something along those lines. So, you know, Main Battery Mod 3 gets the reload down on this thing to 26.2 seconds, which is the gold standard at Tier 9 and 10 if you do run Main Battery Modification 3. And you do get 12 of these guns. And while on the Richelieu, only 8 of them with a 30-second reload does feel a bit underwhelming, when you slap on 12 of these bad boys and give it a reload that is about 4 seconds faster, well, all of a sudden the firepower that this thing can bring to bear is pretty darn great, if I must say so myself. I do try to snap a shot off here very early at the game at the enemy Alsace, and you can see there with the dispersion, I'm pretty sure the Sigma on the Alsace is 1.7. Please correct me if I'm wrong below, but that's the number that I've heard been, you know, thrown around on the forums and on Reddit and whatnot. Pretty sure it's 1.7, and, you know, the guns, they're not bad. They do have very good muzzle velocity, so you are able to hit targets at range relatively easily, assuming that your aim is true. And, again, you know, the Sigma, the accuracy, it's not really that great, but because you have so many shells flying downrange, it's not bad whatsoever. Other things about the Alsace here really quickly before I do get stuck into the actual gameplay. Hit points wise is a little on the low end for Tier 9 at 74,700 fully upgraded. You do have a pretty decent torpedo belt. As I mentioned earlier, the AA is not that bad, especially if you spec it fully. The concealment is pretty decent at about 12.5 kilometers, 12.6 for that matter. So, you know, it gets the job done. And you can see right there, one of the torpedoes hit me right in the middle of the ship and only did 7,500 points of damage. And then, of course, since it's French, you can see I am using the speed boost, which lets you go at speeds of over 30 kilometers, or excuse me, 30 knots pretty easily, as long as you're not turning too much. So, getting into the gameplay. The reason why we decided to go over to sea is because for the North Spawn, getting the sea cap under your control is not that difficult, and the fact that we had the majority of our team over to help is always a good thing too. I do take another torpedo, this time on the bow, just underneath the A turret, but I do shrug it off with the repair. And I have been chunked down a little bit here early on to about 2/3 hit points, so the damage trade, so to speak, at the very beginning for me is actually quite poor for my own standards. However, we do have the lead right now, 385 to 327, and what I'm going to do now is reposition myself so that in a couple minutes I am north of the B cap. You can see that the enemy team has pushed hard for the A and B side, and they are sending pretty much every single ship that they have, sans the one that has been destroyed currently, over to that side of the map. So I'm thinking to myself, I need to get my turrets turned around, I need to get them pointed off my port side, and in a couple minutes I need to be north of the B cap to, try and quell the enemy push as it develops on that side. I get another broadside going down range at the enemy Alsace, and very unfortunately, the aim was poor, 2 breaks and 2 ricochets. Again, these are only 15-inch guns at the end of the day, so while they're, pretty good performing 15-inch guns for that matter, they're still unable to penetrate at angles where 16 and Yami shells would be able to take care of business. So that's something that you're going to have to get used to. Something, for instance, American and German cruisers have 27mm bows. These guns are unable to penetrate if they go nose on to you. So something small like that really does have a big difference. So at this point, all the guns are pointed to port, and now I'm going to be beginning the trek to get north of the B cap. Looking for a broadside here on the North Carolina. You can see, however, he is angling pretty nicely, so I'm going to decide here to toss my salvo downrange at the enemy Admiral Hipper once he comes back up, I believe. Let's see here. Yep. 14.5 kilometers away. I'm going to toss the salvo down range, and we'll see what we can do. It's 436 to 429 right now. You can see my friendly team has bunched up right to the east of the B cap as the salvo falls in on the hipster, and I do 6,300 with 1 pen and 2 over penetrations. So not a bad salvo right there. I've almost amassed 1 million potential damage. If you noticed at the start of the game, I did get shot at by a lot of the enemy BBs as we were all racing for our early game positions. And the reason why I'm also trying to get to the north of B is that I can work out an angle on the Des Moines. And even though, like I mentioned earlier, he is able to bow tank my rounds, you know, just shoot into the superstructure and hope for the best. And we really do got to get that guy out of that position. You can see my buddy Mega Dude in the F7 grid square is going to the south, and he's going to try to get around because the enemy team has moved so far to the western half of the map that Mega should be able to get around there and potentially get some shots into the stern of that guy. We'll see if the enemy team decides to come back. Now right here, looking for another shot on the North Carolina this time. The salvo goes down range, and you can see as I zoom back in, the accuracy on this one is actually pretty good. And I'm going to get lucked out for a few salvos coming up here where the accuracy, the dispersion, and all that good stuff is just unbelievable. I do manage 1 pen there that does about 4,000 damage, but once again, you can see that I had 3 of the 4 shells completely ricochet and deal no damage. Now right here, this is a good trait to have as a battleship captain. You need to be very patient. I could toss the salvo at the hipper, but looking at the minimap, he has an island that is due north right in front of him. So he has to make a choice, turn to the right and come back towards the bulk of our fleet, or try to turn to the left and get behind the island. So you can see that I'm drifting. I have slowed down to 3/4, now half speed, and I can see that he's committing to his turn, so I'm going to toss the salvo down range, and we're going to see what happens. And I've forced his hand. He has to make this turn, or else he's going to beach himself, and the next salvo that goes flying in manages to get a triple citadel and change, picking up the devastating strike on that Tier 8 German heavy cruiser, and I pick up my first kill of the game at about 60,000 damage dealt. So that right there, being patient, waiting for him to maneuver into a spot where he just can't get out of it, and then 12 shells going down range, well, at Tier 9, it is kind of a novelty, and it really is fun whenever all the shells, you know, are able to do that kind of damage, to be able to penetrate like that. Now, granted, because these are the French 15-inch guns, you will get a lot more over penetrations on the regular than you would with other battleship caliber guns. But when they do hit the right spot, I mean, at the end of the day, this is still a BB that hurt too. So, now I'm kiting away a little bit here. I am in my position north of A. All the enemy ships are trying to move in and around the vicinity of the A and the B caps. Right now, I'm just broadside hunting, and this is where the damage really starts to spike in this game, and where the result, the end result that I have, is really going to be a good one. I tank a pretty decent salvo there from the enemy Montana. I actually hit both of those battleships, the Montana for about 3,000 and the Alsace for about 3,000 with my broadside. But you can see there that the Montana is in a very bad situation. He is backing up a bit broadside to me, about 70, maybe 80 degree angle. So I'm going to toss my next salvo down range at that guy. And like I said, I'm just broadside hunting right now. I have the range, 20.3 kilometers, plenty enough. Most of the enemy big ships, for that matter, are well within my gun range. So I'm just going to hunt for the best possible broadside. 20,000 damage with Citadel number 4 in this game. So very good stuff right there. You can see the Montana continues to go in reverse. My buddy in the Shimakaze Hawk over there dropping a pretty nice broadside of torpedoes. Hopefully he'll get some hits on that guy bow in. And now at this point, the North Carolina is the next victim to be from my 12-gun salute. The rounds are out, and you can also see at 2/3 health, the Alsace has about a 24-second reload. So this thing is starting to get down to a level, as I only get 1 Citadel for 11,900. It's starting to get to a Scharnhorst-esque level. And mid to late game, that kind of firepower is just unbelievably difficult to deal with, because sometimes it'll catch you off guard. I mean, German battleship 15-inch shells on the Tirpitz and Bismarck have a 26-second reload, and this thing can take it down quite a bit further. Next broadside salvo going out at the North Cal. Ooh, that looks really good. 41,000 points of damage with 2 Citadels, 5 over penetrations, unfortunately, of all things, and 2 penetrating hits, but still, 41k on a North Cal. Nobody is going to complain about that. That guy got absolutely walloped as he was trying to make a turn, and now right here, I'm looking for one of the best broadsides you can find in the game. Almost full health, this Moskva at about 14 kilometers is trying to make his turn. The accuracy looks pretty decent. The shells are going to fall in on the target, and 6 over pens. I aimed just a little bit too high, and unfortunately all the shells hit at the upper belt and in the superstructure. And I'm not going to lie, guys, when that happened in game, I was just like, oh my god, you gotta be kidding me, dude. However, my pretty decent stealth, as Big manages to take care of the North Cal, my pretty decent stealth allows me to get undetected after the last salvo. Only the forward guns this time on the Moskva, and this time, oh yeah, I'm able to punish him really nicely. 3 penetrations that are citadels, 2 overpens, chunking him down for about 40k as well. Very awesome stuff right there. My damage is now spiked to 184,000, and I have 10 citadels to count so far in this game. Now it's just getting a little bit ridiculous here. I'm looking for the killing blow here on the enemy Moskva. Alright, so we'll see. And I'm looking for the kill shot now here with the rear gun on Surge over there. And his Alsace, the accuracy on that rear turret looks ridiculous. And I get another Citadel, pick up the high caliber and the Confederate, picking up my second kill of the game and pushing my damage to 211,000. And now, once again, the Moskva is still providing a broadside for me. He is burning. He is on fire in the superstructure area. Looking for the killing blow here. You can see that the accuracy on the 2 front guns is a little bit less than desirable. However, I do get some pretty nice penetrations. 2 of them right there, putting them down to 1,600 hit points. And then I almost finished the kill right there and putting him down to 250 hit points. Now my buddy 901 is going to try to open up on him and try to get this kill secure, as I do take a pretty decent salvo right there from the Moskva right in the superstructure. And right as 901 gets the kill, he gets killed as well. So at this point, 738 to 468, we have 6 ships. They only have 3. It's looking pretty good. I still have about half hit points, which isn't bad, so my reload is going to dip down even further. And what you've seen in this replay, well, a lot of really bad enemy plays, honestly. Just so many broadsides to punish. But the reason why it's special is because Richelieu would just straight up not, I repeat, not be able to deal that kind of damage that quickly. 5,000 damage there on the enemy Iowa. Decent salvo, even though he was full broadside. But yeah, guys, like, the Richelieu, again, I did great in. My stats in it were pretty good. And you saw a replay last week on the channel where I did have a pretty respectable game. But it's just the lack of DPM. And I know that DPM isn't necessarily correlated with battleships all that much, but I can't even describe to you how much better 4 extra guns and about a 4-second base reload is on this ship beforehand. Now, of course, you can go with a secondary build, and it leaves your reload at 30 seconds flat. But this thing is just able to pump out so much potential damage that, I mean, going with the gunboat build, it's kind of been that way for me, like I mentioned earlier. I tried it on the Izumo. I got rid of it. I tried it on the Ami. I got rid of it. I did have a secondary build on the Bismarck, but that was a long time ago, back in the day when British battleships didn't exist. So there wasn't so much withering HE spam that all your secondary mounts got destroyed over the course of a game. So, I mean, you know, Alsace does have a pretty potent secondary arrangement. I mean, it basically has a Le Glissinière, 2 turrets at the rear, 1 at the front, as you can see. Then there's a whole bunch that man the midsection of the ship. But, yeah, these guns, they just perform so nicely. Again, the shell velocity is excellent. The penetration is pretty good for 15-inch shells. I just can't really pass this potential DPM up. Anyway, going through the B-cap here. Looking for a broadside shot on the Rune. He does have to stay a little bit angled because there are some friendly ships that are out in front of him. I try to shoot just the forward guns out at the guy. You can see my secondaries are opening up at about 9 kilometers. So if you don't have a full secondary build, this is the range that you can expect them to start opening up with AFT. Very unfortunately for me, I do get my turret knocked out by the enemy Iowa. So I do immediately repair it because it's at the end of the game, and quite frankly, I don't really care if I die right now. I'm looking for a nice broadside shot here on the Rune. Now, this right here is something that you should expect at point-blank range. The accuracy looks great. The shell's falling right at the waterline. And unfortunately, I just wasn't able to delete the guy. 3 pens for about 4k, and then another 4 over-penetrations from the rear turret. Sorry for the stutter right there. Yeah, it's just, you can't really expect like you would in a Montana or a North Carolina, where you're just going to absolutely blap the guy. And there's no question about it. So it can be annoying at times, but you just got to get used to it. That's really the only blemish that I can think of. 14,000 with some more pens there on the Iowa, pumping my damage to 254k. And now, unfortunately, before my next salvo can be shot, the game is going to end. So what a performance here on loop in the Alsace. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 634,000 credits received and 8.6k total experience earned. This was not my first win of the day. I picked up Confederate, Devastating Strike, and High Caliber, dealing 254,000 points of damage off of 81 shell hits. I sank 2 enemy boats, had 36 secondary hits, and 11 citadels. That is pretty sweet. Taking a look at the team score, 2,465 base experience. Easily tops on the team. My buddies 9 and Mega finishing in 4th and 5th place respectively with 2 kills of their own. So APOC Div managed 6 kills in this very nice game. Taking a look at the detailed report, 249,000 damage dealt with the armor piercing, the very vast majority, and a couple more thousand with the HE from the secondaries and the fire that I set. I also had 2.2 million potential damage, which is great, and I traveled almost 60 kilometers, which for a French BB, you know, these things do get around, so it's pretty nice. So, hope you enjoyed that replay, guys. This is the Sneaky Snake for Brothers in Arms, World of Warships signing off. Please consider giving it a like, commenting on it, sharing it with your friends, or possibly subscribing to the channel. All of it is very much appreciated, and have a great day.